All right, y'all, today we're going to talk about the post-classical civilization, but specifically China. And here you can kind of see a map of China and the different dynasties that control it. So in the green you have the Sui dynasty, which we're going to come back to in just a moment. And then the Tang dynasty is going to expand it to kind of the largest it's ever been, outlined here in red. And they even take over a significant portion of Central Asia, which helps them trade on the Silk Roads. And then during the Song dynasties, it's going to kind of fall back and get a little bit smaller as well. Now, before the Sui dynasty took over, there was a time period called the Three Kingdoms period, also known as the Era of Division. Now, this started after the fall of the Han dynasty. They had all these bad rulers, and floods, and famines, which sort of caused the Han to collapse on itself. And there were three big dynasties that started to compete for power. The Wu, the Shu, and the Wei. Okay? And the Shu would also be pronounced Su, too, which we'll get to that. But this is a time period very much like the era of warring states, and it's going to reinforce that idea that Chinese people want a strong central government to keep order. So the Sui dynasty is going to be the dynasty that comes in and ends the era of division, or the Three Kingdoms period. And it's started by Su Wendi, and that's where the name comes from. But Su Wendi unites China by making alliances with the Zhao family. The Zhao family all the way back from the Zhao dynasty, which was the second dynasty to rule. But they make an alliance with the Zhao family so they get a lot of power and then can take over the rest of the people. And he gives the Zhao family special privileges in the dynasty. Here's Su Wendi here. He also reinstated the civil service exam, making sure that the bureaucrats, these scholar gentry, were well qualified to rule. And it basically starts a new class in China, the scholar gentry. These are the rich, educated bureaucrats that have power. Here you can kind of see them taking the civil service exam down here. Now, later on in the dynasty, another emperor named Su Yongdi is going to expand trade even more. And one of the biggest things that he does is he creates something called the Grand Canal. And the Grand Canal goes from the north up here all the way down to the Yellow River, from Beijing down to the Yellow River, and then all the way down from the Huang River down to the Yellow River. So it connects the north and southern China. So they have this long canal that they can sail their ships through, and that's going to help them trade and make China a lot stronger. However, at the same time, Su Yongdi was doing a lot of things that weren't really good for China. He wasn't necessarily the best ruler, but he also, just like building the Great Wall, digging this long canal was really hard on the peasants, and so that starts a peasant rebellion, which starts the next dynasty. So the next dynasty is the Tang dynasty. And one famous emperor is Tang Taizong, and he is sort of the warrior emperor of the Tang dynasty. He expands China larger than it's ever before, and I'll go back to the map real quick. So here is the Tang dynasty that extends into Central Asia as well. But he really wanted to change things in China, especially make things a little bit more equal. So he actually took land away from the rich people in China and gave it to the poor, so that the poor would be able to support themselves and they would have a stronger economy, where the peasants weren't trying to rebel. And this sort of started a golden age, not just because poor people were able to support themselves, but just in general having order in society. China was sort of the most advanced civilization at this time. They had a lot of new inventions that contributed to this golden age, such as paper money, which helped trade increase because it was easier to carry around. Terrace farming, which increases their agricultural production and helps their population increase. Water-powered mills, which takes some of the hard work that peasants had to do and has a water-powered mill to kind of grind grain for them and help them out. You also have the invention of gunpowder, which is a little bit of an oxymoron at that time because there were no guns. they just had the power, and they used them for explosives and fireworks and rockets, things like that. Later on, it'll be used for guns when they get developed. You also have porcelain and fertilizers. Now, porcelain makes dishes out of, and then fertilizers use things you can put in the soil to make it more nutritious, and they can grow more crops. Now, eventually the Tang dynasty went away, and the Song dynasty is going to take them over. Now, one famous emperor during this time is Emperor Taizo, and he is really famous for promoting education and advancement. He doesn't want to just rule China. He wants to make China strong. And this is going to continue the Golden Age. So this Golden Age is going to last through the Tang and the Song dynasties. And so a lot of times when you talk about Chinese history, a lot of times the Tang and the Song are kind of referred to together. But this Golden Age is going to continue, in large part because Taizu is promoting education and advancement, keeping these advances going, which is going to keep China ahead. But one important invention is the magnetic compass, which is a navigational tool that can tell you which direction you're going out in the middle of the ocean. Also, printing with movable type. Here's a compass, you can see that. Printing with movable type is going to help too, so they have these block letters and they arrange them in a grid, and they can basically stamp paper. So they can mass produce books, which is going to increase literacy or increase education, and people are going to be more able to create nice things. They also have extremely large ships called junks. Here you can kind of see a picture of one, much larger than any of the other ships in the world. And they had an abacus, which is an early calculator to help them keep up with all their goods they're trading. Now, the Song dynasty also saw the rise of Neo-Confucianism. Neo-Confucianism has all those same ideas of Confucianism, kind of respect and virtue, the 5 relationships, the emperor leading by example, valuing education and family, all those sort of things. But it's going to become a lot stricter and a little bit more religious. So they're going to add some morality to this, and they're going to kind of say, well, not doing these things is morally wrong. They also are going to persecute Buddhists, the Buddhists that had spread into China, which I'll get to in just a second. And they had more restrictions on women, such as foot binding. Here you can kind of see a picture of the foot. They would kind of break the bones of the child at a young age and tie the foot up so that the feet would appear really small. And this was considered attractive for a woman that had small feet back then. But the Song dynasty is going to fall because the Mongols invade, which we'll get to in another lesson on the Mongols. Now, during the Su, Tang, and Song dynasties, you have some religious aspects too, which aren't really, they don't have power. One, because Taoism doesn't believe in politics, but it's still very influential, especially in the lower classes. But they sort of are promoting this idea of balance and harmony with nature. You also have Buddhism that spreads from South Asia. During the Gupta dynasty, when the Guptas were persecuting Buddhists, they sort of spread out into China. But there's a new type of Buddhism that develops called Zen Buddhism. And they believe that you can gain instant nirvana through meditation. They don't think that you have to wait to die. You become enlightened and then you wait to die, and when you die, you're no more. They think you can instantly attain nirvana, so they practice meditation to get there. They also Buddhism was promoted by some emperors, but by and large, it was persecuted, especially in the Song dynasty. So you have these two religious influences, but still, even though these religions are influencing China, Confucianism and Neo-Confucianism is still going to be the largest kind of belief system throughout China. And then that is it.